This story is about a sixpence. Now, sixpences are considered lucky. You would put one in the mix in a Christmas pudding, and when you went to eat your pudding, if it was in your bowl, you'd have luck for the rest of the year. You might give a sixpence to a bride on her wedding day, or pop it in the pram of a newly born baby, again for good luck. But this next story about a sixpence that took place during the Jacobite uprisings was not a lucky story for the person involved. In fact, it was quite the opposite. In the first half of the 1700s, Scotland was a country of turmoil and civil war, as the Jacobites sought to restore the exiled Stuart king, James VIII of Scotland and III of England, to his lost throne. The Jacobites just take their name from Latin for James Jacobus, and were given to the supporters of King James. In 1715, the biggest Jacobite uprising took place. The Jacobite clan chiefs sent the fiery cross around their land. This was a cross of wooden sticks that had either been burned or were on fire. They were held together with linen that was soaked in goat's blood. And when the messenger came to your hut or croft or black house with a fiery cross, it was a summon by your chief to gather your weapons and join him. Macdonald of Clanranald was gathering his forces to join the army of the Earl of Mar, who was supporting King James. He sent the fiery cross around his land. The messenger returned and told Macdonald that an old widow woman from South Uist had refused to send her only son. So Macdonald went to pay her a visit. This woman begged Macdonald not to take her son, for he was killed in battle, she had no one to look after her. But he demanded the boy join the force the next morning. The next day, the young man got up. His mother had cooked 2 bannocks, flatbread. One was bigger than the other. She offered him both bannocks. She told him if he took the large one, he would take it with his mother's curse. If he took the smaller one, it would be with his mother's blessing. So of course he took the smaller bannock. She then handed him an old crooked sixpence that had been cursed 7 times, and she told him he must use it against his chief. If he did so, he would receive his mother's blessing. If he failed to do that, he would be cursed by her and not survive the coming war. Macdonald of Clanranald gathered his force, and they marched through the Highlands, heading south towards St John's town of Perth. When they got there, they camped with the rest of the army on the North Inch, common ground to the north of the city. The Jacobite commander, John Erskine, the Earl of Mar, had heard news that a government army commanded by the Duke of Argyll and loyal to George I of Hanover, who the Jacobites called the Elector King, was in Stirling with an army. Argyll was there to prevent the Jacobite force from entering central Scotland. The 2 armies marched against each other, and on the 13th of November 1715 they faced each other on the Sheriffmuir. We're standing here on the Sheriffmuir, and this is where the Jacobite commanders were. The stone here is the gathering stone where the Earl of Mar, the Jacobite commander, put his standard. The Highland clans, they would be standing over there. The clans were always the shock troops of a Jacobite army at the front to smash through the government lines. The Macdonalds would be on the right of the battlefield. That had been an honour given to them by Robert the Bruce. The right hand is always an honourable position. If you've got somebody close to you, you can call them your right hand man or your right hand woman. The left Remember, at the Last Supper, Judas sat on Jesus' left after he betrayed him. At one time in Scotland, if you're left-handed, you could be accused of witchcraft. So the right of the battlefield was a position of great honour. The pipers would be playing their clan battle tunes. At the front line of the Highland regiments would be all the elite in society. Alan Macdonald of Clanranald would have been in the very front with his extended family, all the important people in the clan. They believed in leading by example because a clansman saw his chief and his family fighting fiercely in front of them. It would give them heart. On the 13th of November 1715, it was very different from today. It was cold and frosty. The Jacobites charged. The clansmen would run towards the government troops, screaming their clan slogans in Gaelic. Alan Macdonald of Clanranald had already fought in the battle. He fought in the Battle of Killiecrankie when he was only 16 years old. As the fighting took place, Macdonald fought bravely. The young boy from South Uist had used all his musket balls. He had no way to protect himself, and he thought if he was attacked by one of the redcoat soldiers, he would surely die. Then he remembered his mother's words. Use the crooked, cursed sixpence against his clan chief. If he did so, he would receive his mother's blessing. If not, her curse, and would die in the battle. He reached into his sporran. He took the sixpence. He put it down the barrel of his musket. He then aimed it at Al Macdonald, and he pulled the trigger. There'd be a loud bang. The air would fill with smoke. Through the smoke, the boy saw his chief stagger. He clutched his head. Blood flowed through his fingers. Macdonald looked around confused, and then his legs gave way and he fell. The Clanranald clansmen stopped fighting when they saw their chief lying on the heather. Traditionally, they would have taken the body and removed it from the battlefield. But another Macdonald chief, Glengarry, shouted to them, "Today for revenge, tomorrow for weeping." This led to the Clanranald Macdonalds picking up their arms and fighting with renewed vigour. After the battle, they picked up their chief and they carried him to a nearby Jacobite stronghold of Drummond Castle. When Al Macdonald was taken to Drummond Castle, he was still alive, but only just. He was mortally wounded. All they could do was make him as comfortable as possible. He died, and his body was brought here to Perthshire Chapel. Now this is the resting place of the Drummonds. And for years and years there was legends, local legends, that Al Macdonald of Clanranald was buried on this site. But there was nothing at all to back this up. No written evidence, and there was no grave or marker until about 30 years ago. Some archaeologists turned up and they dug up the floor of the chapel. By the high altar they found a skeleton. Now they could tell this skeleton had been a warrior at one time. And what's interesting is there was a hole in the skull. I've also heard somebody tell me that when they tipped out the skull, a sixpence fell from within, but I've never ever read anything that would back up this story. So was this the chief of Clanranald? Well, it is quite interesting that although this was a local Perthshire legend, it seems to be backed up by historical and archaeological evidence. If you've liked this story, please subscribe to our channel and like it, and thank you for listening. Remember and come back and listen to more tales and dark stories and gruesome facts. Thank you.